The Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and the kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself. I stood at the entrance in a simple black dress, holding my printed invitation to the International Relief Foundation Gala, the ticket I'd purchased myself for $1,200. My mother, Patricia Sterling, blocked my path like a security guard, her diamond necklace catching the light. "Absolutely not, Rachel. You can't come in." I'm Rachel Sterling, 34, and according to my mother, I'd committed the unforgivable sin of choosing humanitarian work over high society. For the past 9 years, I'd worked for the International Crisis Response Network, coordinating disaster relief in conflict zones and refugee camps across 3 continents. My mother chaired this gala every year, raising money for international causes she couldn't locate on a map. Tonight's event honored Ambassador Michael Torres, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and current director of the Global Humanitarian Coalition. "I have a ticket, Mom. I don't care." Her voice was low and sharp. "This is for elite society, not you. Do you understand? These are diplomats, CEOs, society leaders. You show up in your thrift store dresses smelling like refugee camps." "I've been in New York for 3 months. I haven't been to a refugee camp since." "It doesn't matter. You don't belong here." She glanced nervously toward the ballroom where 400 guests mingled. "Your father and I have worked for 20 years to build our reputation in these circles. Your sister Caroline married a hedge fund manager. Your brother Thomas runs a successful law practice. And you live in a studio apartment and work for a non-profit nobody's heard of. The ICRN is one of the largest humanitarian organizations." "Nobody important has heard of," she corrected. "These people donate millions to causes. They're not going to relate to someone who digs wells in Africa or whatever it is you do. I coordinate emergency medical response in." "Rachel, please." She pressed her manicured fingers to her temple. "Just go. There's a coffee shop down the street. Wait there for 2 hours, then go home. I'll tell everyone you couldn't make it." "You're not on the guest list anyway," my father added, appearing beside her in his tuxedo. "Your mother had your name removed weeks ago. I purchased my own ticket." His jaw tightened. "Under what name?" "My own. Dr. Rachel Sterling." My mother's face went pale. "You used your title? Rachel, these people will think you're a medical doctor. When they find out you have a PhD in international development, they'll think I'm educated? They'll think you're pretentious." She lowered her voice to an urgent whisper. "Please. This is the most important night of the year for us. Ambassador Torres is the guest of honor. The Rothschild family is here. The Vandenberg Foundation. The mayor. These are serious people. I understand." "No, you don't." Her eyes darted to the security guard stationed at the ballroom entrance. "Marcus, this young woman doesn't have proper credentials. Please escort her out." Marcus, the security guard, looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, if she has a valid ticket." "She doesn't belong at this event," my father said firmly. "We're the hosts. We're asking you to remove her." What my parents didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask about, was why I'd been in New York for 3 months. Last year, I'd led the emergency response to a devastating earthquake in Central Asia. My team had established medical clinics, coordinated international aid delivery, and housed 15,000 displaced families within 72 hours. The operation had been studied by the UN as a model of effective humanitarian response. Ambassador Torres had been in the region on a diplomatic mission. He'd spent 3 days observing our work, asking questions, taking notes. 2 months later, he'd called me personally. "Dr. Sterling, I'm putting together a new initiative at the Global Humanitarian Coalition. I want you to lead it. Director of Emergency Response Operations. You'd oversee crisis response globally, command a budget of $500 million, and report directly to me." I'd accepted last month. The official announcement was scheduled for tomorrow morning at a UN press conference. Tonight's gala was meant to be a celebration before the chaos of the new role began. Ambassador Torres had specifically asked if I'd be attending. I told him yes, not mentioning that my mother would rather die than see me walk through those doors. "Ma'am, I really can't remove someone with a valid ticket," Marcus said apologetically. "Then I'll handle this myself." My mother grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "Rachel, you're embarrassing us. Leave now, or I'll make a scene that will humiliate this entire family." Mrs. Sterling? A new voice interrupted. We all turned. A woman in an elegant suit with a discreet earpiece stood behind us. Secret Service. I'm Agent Miller with Ambassador Torres's security detail. Is there a problem? No problem, my mother said quickly, releasing my arm. Just a family matter. I'm looking for Dr. Rachel Sterling. The ambassador is asking for her. My mother's mouth fell open. That's me, I said. Agent Miller's expression remained neutral. The ambassador requests that you join him in the VIP reception area before the program begins. If you'll follow me. There must be some mistake, my father stammered. Rachel isn't, she doesn't. Dr. Sterling is the ambassador's personal guest tonight, Agent Miller said crisply. He's been waiting for her arrival. I followed Agent Miller past my frozen parents, through the ballroom entrance, past the sea of elegantly dressed guests, to a private salon off the main hall. Ambassador Torres stood there with a small group. I recognized the UN Deputy Secretary General, the head of Doctors Without Borders, and several other humanitarian leaders I'd worked with over the years. Rachel. Ambassador Torres embraced me warmly. I was worried you'd gotten lost. Come, there are people who want to meet you before the announcement. Announcement, sir? He smiled. I'm moving up the timeline. These things leak anyway, and frankly I'm too excited to wait until tomorrow. I'm announcing your appointment tonight during my speech. My stomach flipped. Tonight? But my family is here, I understand. All the more reason to do it properly. He turned to the group. Everyone, this is Dr. Rachel Sterling, the woman I've been telling you about. She'll be joining the coalition as our new Director of Emergency Response Operations. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of introductions and conversations about crisis response strategies, funding allocations, and upcoming missions. When it was time for dinner, Ambassador Torres insisted I sit at the head table with him. The seating chart has me at table 47, I said quietly. He frowned. Table 47? That's in the back by the kitchen. Who arranged that? My mother is the Gala chair. His expression darkened. I see. Well, the head table it is. I need my new director close by. We walked into the ballroom together, his security detail around us. Conversations stopped. Every head turned to watch Ambassador Torres escort me to the front of the room, to the table where my parents sat with the Rothschilds, the Vandenbergs, and other elite donors. My mother looked like she'd seen a ghost. Patricia, Richard, Ambassador Torres said pleasantly. I don't believe I've had the pleasure of properly thanking you for raising such an extraordinary daughter. Rachel's work has saved thousands of lives. She's exactly the kind of leader the humanitarian community needs. He pulled out the chair next to his own, the seat of honor, and gestured for me to sit. My father's face had gone purple. Ambassador, we weren't aware you knew Rachel. Knew her? She's the reason I'm here tonight. He smiled at the confused faces around the table. Rachel led the earthquake response I observed in Central Asia last year. Most impressive humanitarian operation I've witnessed in my 40 years of diplomatic service. That's why I recruited her to lead the coalition's emergency response division. Mrs. Rothschild leaned forward with interest. The Central Asia earthquake? I read about that operation in Foreign Affairs. The 72-hour response model. That was you, Dr. Sterling? My team and I, yes. Remarkable work, she said. We've been looking for humanitarian projects to support. I'd love to discuss your approach. My mother sat frozen, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. The dinner proceeded with Ambassador Torres treating me like visiting royalty. He introduced me to every important person who approached the table. The UN Deputy Secretary General asked about my staffing plans. The Vandenberg Foundation director requested a meeting to discuss funding. My sister Caroline, sitting at table 12, stared at me like she'd never seen me before. When dessert was cleared, Ambassador Torres took the stage for his keynote speech. He spoke about humanitarian crises, global responsibility, and the need for innovative leadership. Then he paused. Tonight I want to share some exciting news. The Global Humanitarian Coalition is launching a new initiative to revolutionize how we respond to international emergencies. We're creating a rapid response system that can deploy resources and personnel within 48 hours of any crisis, anywhere in the world. The audience applauded. Leading this initiative required finding someone exceptional. Someone with field experience, strategic vision, and proven results under impossible conditions. I'm honored to announce that Dr. Rachel Sterling has accepted the position of Director of Emergency Response Operations for the Global Humanitarian Coalition. He gestured to me. Rachel, please stand. I stood, my heart pounding as 400 people turned to look at me. Dr. Sterling spent the last 9 years in some of the world's most dangerous places: Syria, Yemen, South Sudan, Myanmar. She's coordinated medical care for refugees, built infrastructure in war zones, and established protocols that have become international standards. Last year alone, her earthquake response operation saved an estimated 15,000 lives. The applause grew louder. She'll oversee a $500 million budget, command teams across 6 continents, and report directly to me. Rachel represents the future of humanitarian work: brilliant, dedicated, and absolutely fearless. He raised his glass. To Dr. Rachel Sterling and to the thousands of lives she'll save in the years ahead. The ballroom erupted. People stood applauding. Cameras flashed. I saw my mother sitting motionless at the head table, her face ashen. After the speech, I was surrounded. Donors wanting to contribute to my programs. Journalists requesting interviews. Other humanitarian workers congratulating me. Mrs. Rothschild pulled me aside to discuss a $10 million donation. My parents tried to approach once. Ambassador Torres's security detail politely suggested they wait. An hour later, my mother finally cornered me near the bar. Rachel, I didn't know. If I'd known you worked with Ambassador Torres. You didn't know because you never asked, I said calmly. You assumed because I work in humanitarian relief instead of hedge funds or corporate law that my career didn't matter. You said you worked for a nonprofit. You live in a studio apartment. Because I spend 10 months a year in conflict zones. I don't need a luxury apartment I'm never in. You let me turn you away at the door. Her voice broke. In front of security. You ordered me to leave so I wouldn't embarrass you. I was waiting to see what would happen. The ambassador's security found me first. My father joined us, looking 10 years older. The Vandenbergs just asked us about your work. We couldn't answer. We had to admit we didn't know what you actually do. I coordinate emergency response in humanitarian crises. I've done it for 9 years. You never asked. The ambassador said you report directly to him now, my mother whispered. That you oversee $500 million. Rachel, we had no idea. That my work matters. That I'm good at it. That people respect me. I picked up my clutch. You judged my worth by my apartment size and my dress budget. Ambassador Torres judged it by the 15,000 lives my team saved. Caroline appeared, her hedge fund manager husband trailing behind. Rachel, I had no idea you were this important. We should get lunch sometime. Talk about your work. No, thank you. But we're sisters. Sisters who speak to each other. Who ask about each other's lives. Who don't block each other from entering buildings. I looked at my family, my mother with mascara smudged from tears, my father unable to meet my eyes, my sister confused that money and status hadn't guaranteed her importance. Ambassador Torres leaves for Geneva tomorrow. I'm going with him to start my new role. I'll be based in Switzerland for the foreseeable future. When will you be back? My mother asked desperately. I don't know. I have emergencies to respond to. Lives to save. Work that actually matters. I walked away from them through the ballroom where guests still congratulated me, out into the cool evening air. My phone buzzed with messages. The UN press office, news outlets, humanitarian organizations, all requesting interviews about the appointment. Ambassador Torres appeared beside me. Are you all right? Sir. Thank you for the introduction tonight. You earned every word. He paused. Your family seemed surprised. They didn't think I belonged at their elite society gala. They were probably right. These aren't my people. No, he agreed. Your people are in refugee camps and disaster zones, doing the real work while society parties. But sometimes it's good to remind the party people where their donation money actually goes. To remind them what real impact looks like. He smiled. And it was extremely satisfying to watch their faces when I announced your appointment. The society pages the next morning were brutal for my parents. Gala Chair Bar's own daughter, humanitarian hero, from event, ran with photos of Ambassador Torres escorting me to the head table while my family looked on in shock. The article detailed my work, the new appointment, and my mother's attempt to have me removed by security. Several guests had leaked quotes about my parents' obvious ignorance of my achievements. My parents called 63 times over the next week. I didn't answer. I flew to Geneva with Ambassador Torres the following Monday. My new office overlooked the UN complex. My first briefing covered 3 active crises requiring immediate response. A month later, I led my first major operation as director, coordinating relief efforts for flooding in Southeast Asia. We deployed teams within 36 hours, established medical clinics in 48, and had food distribution running in 72. The operation made international news. My face appeared on the cover of Time magazine, the new face of humanitarian response. My mother sent the magazine to my office with a note. "We're so proud. Please call us." I recycled it. 6 months into the role, I testified before the UN Security Council about humanitarian access in conflict zones. Ambassadors from 20 nations listened as I outlined new protocols for protecting aid workers. My mother tried to attend. UN security turned her away. She wasn't credentialed. The irony wasn't lost on me. A year later, the coalition's annual report showed our emergency response times had improved by 60% under my leadership. We'd responded to 12 major crises, saved an estimated 40,000 lives, and become the model for humanitarian operations globally. Ambassador Torres nominated me for the UN Humanitarian Award. I won. My family wasn't invited to the ceremony. Not because I blocked them, but because the guest list was reserved for people who'd actually supported my work. My field teams, my mentors, the refugees I'd helped who'd traveled to New York to celebrate. The people who'd never questioned whether I belonged. I stood on the stage at UN headquarters accepting the award from the Secretary General, and I thought about that night at the gala. My mother blocking the door. My father calling security. Their absolute certainty that I didn't belong in their elite society. They'd been right about one thing. I didn't belong in their world. I belonged in a far more important one, where success was measured in lives saved, not champagne toasts. Where status came from impact, not invitation lists. Where the only circle that mattered was the one drawn around people in crisis, and my job was to step inside and help. The ballroom had given me a clear view of my family's values. And Ambassador Torres' speech had given 400 society guests a clear view of mine. I knew which view history would remember.